bottom line, at the end of the day, and this is what I would put to anybody, regardless of your personal beliefs or how you view the world, what kind of impact do you want to make? What kind of message do you want to send? And what kind of future do you want to create? A video that I've wanted to do for a while, ever since I put out my Calling Out Veganism video back around the beginning of the year. It was one of the first few videos that I ever did on this channel, and I knew that I wanted this to kind of be the part 2 to that story, because why I gave up animal products and how I view animal agriculture is a really key part of my entire life, really, at this point. I mean, it comes into play. What you eat and what you put into your body, it impacts you, whether or not you want to believe that. And so making this video is really important to me. I also think it's going to answer some questions for some people if they take the time to watch it, because I get questions about the things that I'm going to be talking about in this video all the time, and it's really hard to sum up what now is about a 4 or 5 year journey into just like a 3-4 word response, because people don't want to sit and listen to your life story. I don't want to sit and tell somebody my life story, but I'll put it out in a video because it's like a passive aggressive way of telling somebody about yourself. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and force you to listen to an hour-long monologue on how I view the world, but here's a link to a video. I don't know, maybe that doesn't make any sense. Obviously, the people who are my friends and the people who care about me take the time to sit and listen to me, and I sit and listen to them. But, you know, just your average Joe out in the street, people that I interact with at work or whatever, people I'm not really friends with, probably not going to sit and listen to all that. So yeah, anyway, I have extensive notes here that I'm going to be going off of, mainly because I don't want to miss any points. And like I said, it's looking back now, this has been a 4 or 5 year journey, and I really want to make sure that I hit every single point that I want to make. So getting into it, I'm going to start with like a brief timeline of basically what got me started and all the processes that I went through, because I think it's important to kind of illustrate that this wasn't something that I decided to do just overnight. This was a process of years, and I think it's important to understand that you're never done changing, you're never done evolving. The things that you're doing today or next week might not be what you're doing next month, next year. You just never know what life's going to throw at you, and you just gotta kind of roll with the punches. And that definitely relates to your health and your wellness and your fitness and everything else. Also, real quick, I know I'm like making this the longest intro ever. I just want to make sure that I drive home the fact that I'm not like a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness coach, nothing like that. All I am is somebody who has paid attention to what is going on in their body, done some research, tried to educate myself, drawn some conclusions, and made some decisions. And that's all I really think any of us can do. If you get something out of this video, awesome. Just know that I'm not trying to put myself out there as like an expert. I wouldn't want anyone to think that. This is just my story. Back in like 2015, I was living on my own, and up until that point, my nutrition was probably negligible. At best, I ate food when I was hungry, but I didn't really think about what I was eating. So in college, in those first few months after I left home, I was living on Pop-Tarts and Hot Pockets and salads, but it was mostly just iceberg lettuce and cheese and a whole bunch of ranch dressing. Delicious, but not very healthy. And then I started dating somebody, and he was a gym rat and very into health and fitness, and luckily for me, very into the nutritional aspect of fitness, which I think is something that a lot of people don't take that into consideration enough. What you put into your body accounts for 85% of the results that you will see. So it's not even how much you work out. Obviously, exercise is important, but diet, what you're eating, what you're putting into your body, the fuel that you are giving yourself is huge. And so I think I had a good foundation there, starting out, working out, and getting into nutrition and everything. And I started paying attention to what I was putting into my body. And in 2016, once I kind of like got established and was like doing the whole fitness thing on my own or whatever, I wasn't working out with somebody every single day. I wasn't like eating with somebody every single day. I was kind of on my own. that was when I started experimenting with different diets. I was doing the whole chicken and broccoli, steak and rice thing, which if you don't know, in the fitness community, like bodybuilders and like weightlifters and people who are really into like the physique side, they eat very, very restrictive diets. You have to eat that way to get the result that you're going for, which in my humble opinion seems to be nothing short of turning yourself into a chiseled Cheeto, but that is just whatever, no hate, do what you want. I did the whole thing, and very restrictive. And then from 2016 into 2017, I started kind of just getting some really weird food-related reactions. I'd never had like allergic reactions to anything that I ate growing up ever. I was never allergic to any foods. And now I would feel really sluggish, nauseated, tired. I was having a lot of digestive issues, especially related to like red meat and dairy primarily starting out. Especially cheese. Cheese was not my friend, and it made me very sad at first because who doesn't love cheese? I mean, come on, cheese is amazing. But it was making me sick, and I was really confused, never had any issues like that before, so I started eliminating things from my diet. I started cutting things out. I gave up red meat years before I quit eating animal products entirely, mainly because I didn't want to feel bad anymore. I wanted to feel good. I wanted to be able to enjoy life and live, and I realized that eating those foods, even though they tasted good and I wanted to be able to eat them, they were not benefiting my body. And I had to keep my health in mind. So I cut those out. I cut out dairy, and I was only eating like chicken and fish and like, you know, veggies and that kind of thing. But when all you're eating is chicken breast and tilapia, it gets really old really quick. So I still wasn't feeling great. Like and not only that, but I wasn't inspired by what I was eating either. You know, it's like eating is not just, you know, fuel in, energy out. There's a lot more that goes into it. There's a social aspect of it, and you know, there's a lot of enjoyment that goes into it. For human beings, eating food is a whole thing, and I definitely was not getting what I wanted out of it. And so end of 2016 and then into 2017 was when I really started to consider seriously, like maybe I should just give up animal products completely. I dated somebody for a period of time, and they were experimenting with veganism. I was intrigued by it because it was very different from anything that I had ever tried before, and obviously it was gaining in popularity very, very rapidly. I mean, it had been for a few years thanks to, you know, YouTube and social media and everything else. And so I thought, well, maybe I should just give this a try because, to be honest, it doesn't seem so bad. I mean, I'm like halfway there right now as it is. So I kind of started toying with it. I made a few meals here and there. I wasn't sure if it was something I was going to stick with, but I felt like I should give it a chance because, I don't know, it was just my gut instinct was telling me that I should. And I also happened to watch a couple of documentaries around that time that really made me reevaluate how I viewed food and myself in relation to the environment and other living things. The first one was What the Health, which is on Netflix. Caveat on that one though, it has been debunked by quite a few people, vegan and non-vegan alike, because they either exaggerated certain claims or just straight up flat out lied in an effort to get a like visceral reaction from the viewer. So not great on the producer's part in that regard, but it did make me think. And then the other documentary, which I highly recommend everyone should watch, it's really, really good, was Forks Over Knives, which is also on Netflix. That one I think gives a really balanced and smart and in tune response to food and food culture and everything, just everything. So, you know, I was watching those documentaries, I was kind of feeding myself that information in addition to the foods that I was feeding myself, and it was beginning to become a bigger and bigger part of my life. And continuing to consume animal products was just becoming less and less of something that I wanted to do. I was just kind of realizing that following a plant-based diet for me just felt the most natural. It felt the most fulfilling, I guess. And so 2018, I really got into it. I started experimenting with all different kinds of foods because you have to remember, this wasn't something that I just woke up one day and did. I didn't give up animal products overnight. It was a very, very gradual process. Like I started out with just a meal a couple times a week, and then, you know, a couple days a week, and then only at home, and then only at certain restaurants. And like, it was a very, very gradual. I did not go cold turkey like some people do. And I would never recommend that anyway, because I don't necessarily think that it's sustainable. But yeah, I got into it. I got into the weeds, and I was educating myself more as well. YouTubers like Mike the Vegan and Swayze of Unnatural Vegan really helped me kind of connect the dots between how I was eating and what science and data tells us. Because for me, if you want to get me to buy into anything, in general, spirituality and like religious beliefs aside, in general, you're gonna get me to buy into it if you can show me facts and data and peer-reviewed academic studies. Like, that is how you're going to actually get me to stop and consider something. Telling me I should feel a certain way just because, or because you say so, or anything like that, like, yeah, okay, I appreciate your conviction, but it's gonna do nothing for me. I really appreciate those two channels, and I'll link them down below because they substantiate everything that they say. They link all their sources. I appreciate that. So with all that information that I was giving myself, plus a ton of practice, following a plant-based diet became easier and easier and easier. Plus, I was feeling better and better and better. And that's the thing that I think is important here. I never would have considered following a plant-based diet if I hadn't been feeling so terrible up to that point. Like, guys, I felt so terrible. Digestive related and health related, I did not feel good. I felt sick all the time, and there was no relief. Something had to change. Like, things could not stay the way that they were. For me, they could not stay the same. I had to make a change. I gave up animal products, and over the years following, I started to feel better and better and better. That is just kind of what has kept me going, because how I feel eating the way that I eat now versus how I felt before, there's no comparison. I never want to go back to that. So that's kind of the history of why I gave up animal products. I will say, because it is relevant, that I initially gave animal products up for myself, for selfish reasons, because I didn't feel good and I wanted to feel better, and I thought that maybe this was a way. Over time, with, of course, the media that I'm consuming and the videos that I watch, I have come to see following a plant-based diet as beneficial not only for myself, but for the planet and for other living beings. And that's something that maybe I'll do a video about down the line, because there is a ton of information and it is pretty black and white. Like, there's not really a good way to dispute the facts. But in essence, this is a way for me to not only take care of myself, but to try to take care of my environment and the living beings that I interact with. I don't want to do harm to myself or anyone else, and that's really the end point. Not everybody feels that way. People will rationalize things, and I would never sit here and say that you must do this because X, Y, and Z, and you're a terrible person if you don't. Like, you collect more flies with honey than vinegar, like my mom always said. You're not going to get any converts that way, and honestly, that's not the kind of world that I would want to live in anyway. I think a live and let live policy is usually the best policy, and that is the policy that I am trying to exercise now. And this is just me sharing my story. Gave up animal products for myself, and then realized that the environmental and ethical impacts were pretty significant as well, and that has also played into what has kept me from going back to them. Of course, the big question that I always get asked, are you vegan? No. I am not. And I will never call myself vegan. As attractive as that term is for like social reasons and because it's like a trigger word and it's like, ooh, vegan, ooh. I will never call myself vegan. I think at best, if you really want to put a title on it, you just have to, because it just drives you crazy. What's that girl? Why does she eat? What is she? I follow a plant-based diet, and I am perhaps reducitarian, meaning that if it comes down to eating an animal product or having food go to waste, I'm going to eat the food. Because if it comes down to me consuming an animal product or throwing out perfectly good food that is not going to get eaten otherwise, which really doesn't happen that often. I mean, let's be honest, I think maybe it happens like every once in a blue moon, but there are starving people on this planet, and the amount of food that gets wasted, especially in the United States, is horrifically negligible. I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want to contribute to harm to any living thing, but I also don't want to contribute to another even bigger problem, which is the fact that food gets wasted like crazy, and there's enough to go around, more than enough to go around, and people are still starving. That's a whole separate topic for an entirely different video, but that's kind of my take on reducitarianism. And to be honest, titles aside, the animals that I'm not eating and the environment that I'm maybe impacting a little bit less, and my body, which doesn't feel like trash all the time, really doesn't care what I call myself. But there you have it. If you're one of those people who's very anal retentive and just has to have a title for everything, maybe that'll help. That's kind of just my background, my story, my take on the entire thing. I will link my Calling Out Veganism video above and below and all of the places. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. It's one of my favorite videos on my channel. If I can like plug myself, I think it came out really, really well. I think I made my points pretty well, and I would recommend it to anybody. I think that's it for now. I think I made all the points that I want to make. Bottom line, at the end of the day, and this is what I would put to anybody, regardless of your personal beliefs or how you view the world. What kind of impact do you want to make? What kind of message do you want to send? And what kind of future do you want to create? Because at the end of the day, the things that you buy with your money sends a message, and the behavior that you exhibit signals to other people about the kind of world that you want to live in. And that is a heavy ethical and philosophical question to have to weigh, but it's also a really key part of what it means to be a human being on this planet. And if you live in Western culture, we're really blessed to live in a time and place where we can exercise our rights and have the ability to make our decisions for ourselves and create the future that we want to have. I really hope that as time goes on, I think people are beginning to realize that more and more. They're waking up to that, and I hope that as time goes on, that will only continue to be true. So that is it for me for now. If you have any questions about following a plant-based diet, if you have any thoughts, you can leave them below in the comments or even send me an email. My email is in the description for this video. I'll do my best to answer them and steer you in a direction of more qualified information. Thanks for watching this video. Please consider subscribing, giving this video a big thumbs up. I always appreciate that, and I will see you soon for the next video.